It all started with a text from my son the night before. He was worried about my wife's car. "Dad, I checked Mom's brakes. They feel weird. Can you make sure she's safe tomorrow?" I laughed it off at first, trying to mask the unease in my chest. Brakes are brakes, right? But his tone, so serious, so concerned, stuck with me. I brushed it off as him overreacting. Mom's been driving that car for years. She knows what she's doing. The next morning, everything went wrong. I was at work when I got the call. My phone buzzed insistently, and I saw her name flash across the screen. I picked up immediately, heart thundering. "Wasim, it's..." Her voice cracked, panicked. Then static. Then silence. I called again. No answer. I called my son. "Dad. Mom." His voice was quiet, trembling. "She the brakes." The world collapsed in slow motion. I didn't need more words. I ran to the car, drove faster than I knew I should, adrenaline and fear making my hands shake uncontrollably. When I arrived, the scene made my stomach turn. The car was wrecked, crumpled against a tree at the side of the road. People were around, murmuring, faces blurred. And there she was, my wife, alive miraculously but pale, bruised, shaken beyond recognition. I helped her out of the car, holding her like I would never let go. The paramedics arrived, the flashing lights painting everything red and blue. But all I could focus on was her. Her lips trembled, her eyes darted, and I noticed something I hadn't before. Her hands were shaking, not just from the crash but from fear or guilt. It was days later, as she recovered in the hospital, that I began noticing the little things. Call she quickly ended when I entered the room. A phone left face down on the nightstand, her avoidance when I asked about texts. At first I blamed myself, thinking maybe I was imagining it. But the unease grew. One night, unable to sleep, I peeked at her phone, something I swore I'd never do. Messages from a man she called work friend. Small at first, casual. "Good luck today. I'll check in later." Nothing alarming, until the tone shifted. Flirty messages, intimate jokes, plans she never mentioned to me. The betrayal was subtle at first, a whisper in the background of our life, but it hit harder than any crash. I replayed our last months in my mind. Her complaints about my work hours, my exhaustion, my absence. The dinner she said she cooked but I never ate. The nights she claimed she was busy but I walked past the dim light of her office and heard laughter that wasn't mine to hear. Every memory I'd cherished suddenly felt tainted. I questioned myself constantly. Had I ignored her? Was I too wrapped up in my own life to notice she was slipping away? The guilt was suffocating. But then the truth pressed in, undeniable. She had lied repeatedly, hidden parts of her life from me, and perhaps from our son as well. The turning point came one evening when she admitted everything. We were alone in the hospital room. She was wrapped in a blanket, looking smaller than I remembered, fragile in a way that made me ache. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she whispered. It happened. I was lonely. I felt unseen. I didn't know how to tell you." I wanted to shout, to scream, to shake her until she realized the depth of my heartbreak. But instead I just sat there, numb, watching the person I thought I knew unravel before me. "I thought about leaving," she continued, tears streaming down her face. "But then I couldn't. I didn't want to lose our family. I made terrible choices." I didn't answer immediately. Words felt useless. My mind replayed the crash, my son's warning, the messages I'd seen, her trembling hands. Love and betrayal collided inside me. I felt everything at once: anger, sorrow, guilt, heartbreak, but also clarity. I realized that love alone isn't enough when trust is broken. That sometimes, protecting yourself means stepping away from someone you still care for deeply. And in that moment I made a decision. Not in anger, not in spite, but in self-preservation. I stayed with her for her recovery, yes, but I set boundaries. I asked for honesty, demanded transparency, and made it clear that rebuilding would take more than words. It would take action. She listened, crying, apologizing, remorse clear in her eyes. But remorse isn't the same as repair. Over the following weeks, I learned to navigate the delicate balance of love and caution. I focused on our son, grateful for his presence, his intuition, his love. I leaned on friends, on moments of solitude, on the understanding that betrayal doesn't define a person entirely, but it changes the way you see them, and sometimes that change is irreversible. The hardest moments were the quiet ones. Sitting in the living room, the car accident replaying in my mind, seeing her laugh at something small, feeling my chest tighten because part of me still loved her, even though I knew part of me could never fully trust again. Memories that once brought warmth now stung like acid, reminding me that healing is not linear. Eventually, I had a conversation with her that felt like a closure I didn't know I needed. "I forgive you," I said, voice trembling. "But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and it doesn't mean staying the same. We have to rebuild. Or we move on." She nodded, tears falling. No words could fix everything. No apology could erase the months of lies. But the honesty in that moment was a start. A fragile, painful, necessary start. In the weeks that followed, life slowly resumed its rhythm. The car was repaired. My son continued to watch out for his mom, unaware of the deeper currents beneath the surface. And I, step by step, rebuilt a sense of self that had been shattered. I learned to listen not just to my wife, not just to my son, but to myself. Looking back, I realized the accident was both literal and metaphorical. The crash had shaken us, laid bare the cracks in our life, and forced us to confront truths we'd ignored. Love is messy, betrayal is painful, but growth comes in the aftermath, quiet, gradual, and deeply human. I still think about that day, the text from my son, the panic, the fear. But I've learned to breathe again. I've learned that heartbreak doesn't have to define the rest of your life. It teaches you, sharp and unforgiving, that trust is sacred, honesty is essential, and self-respect sometimes demands the hardest choices. And so I move forward, carrying the lessons with me, grateful for survival, for clarity, for the slow rebuilding of a life that honors both love and truth.